You know, 7 days is a long time in the podcasting world. With each cast, I try to improve things, add new stuff here and there. In the previous episode, I added more directories and the YouTube channel, where you can find all the Press Play podcasts so far, plus other video-based reel-to-reel content as I find or create it. In this podcast, you can read, on the Real Resilience website, a transcript of my interview with my guest this episode, Steve Fensome. As well as being a great collector and enthusiast, Steve has brought to market a great new product for owners of Studer A810 and A812 machines, and you'll hear about that in the interview. For Steve, 7 days is a long time too, because when we recorded this interview, he was selling via eBay and a Facebook shop. But in the intervening time, he's launched a website too. So if you don't hear us talking about that, that's why.
This is the Press Play Podcast, brought to you by Real Resilience.
So I welcome you to episode 9 of Press Play, the podcast dedicated to all things tape and tape recorder, and to my guest, Steve Fensome. In the next half hour, we'll talk about our shared passions for open reel, fear of headwear, and about why he chose to take apart a perfectly working and desirable board of a Studer tape machine. But I opened in asking him about his involvement with tape machines.
It's purely a passion, which has been for ever since I can remember, really, as a kid. Always messing around with stuff like that. And my professional background, I'm a heating engineer by trade. So I've always got my head stuck in a boiler that's not behaving itself. And this is just something that I do for pure joy. And I've done it for so many years now. When I left school, I did work for a local electronics firm that made optoelectronic devices for press machinery. So I lapped a lot of information up from that and stuff on with the electronics and everything. But it's something, it's just a passion, really.
It started off as an interest, did it, really? I mean,
yes,
for me, it started off playing around with Dad's hi-fi and
exactly the same. Yeah, exactly the same. Anything mechanical, electromechanical, as a child, I got my fingers in it, whether I should have or not. So, yeah, since I can remember. Yeah, from a very young age. I mean, I think through some of my teenage years, I probably a bit of a misspent youth playing around with stuff like that instead of being out. But I made up for it in the later years, so to speak. So
you've got a collection of machines now?
Yeah, too many actually. Well, actually, no, not too many now. So I have a little bit of a sort out a while back. I'm not so much into the domestic stuff anymore. Rather than the professional now. But of course, as you know, I mean, it's very scarce now, and it's getting beyond the reach of most hobbyist people now. But yeah, I've got a few.
Any particular models?
Studer mainly, and then a few couple of domestic machines, Akois and T-Ax and Tascams and Ataris. But mainly, I've got a couple of Studer A80s, a couple of A812s, various A810s in different states of repair, some A807s, the list goes on, really.
When we first started communicating, because you're on, I mean, I'm on so many of the groups on Facebook. Which one is it? Is it
Sure.
Studer Users or
Studer Users, yeah, and there's I'm on quite a few actually. Yeah. I suppose you are as well. Yeah.
And we got talking in a conversation about the lineup tapes and the particular lineup tapes.
That's
that
right.
You had.
That's
yeah.
right.
And I'm ex-BBC, and I said,
Sure.
that particular one with the green label and that particular blue one. And then you told me where you got, because I said, "Oh, are you ex-BBC then?" Because you knew a lot about these things. No, I just went up to collect. No, but I went up to collect one of the Studers from. Tell me about this guy in Manchester,
That's right.
in England.
This guy in Manchester, absolutely, amazing bloke. He had 2 floors of an old cotton mill in Manchester.
And they're big old places, aren't they?
Absolutely massive. Yeah. Absolutely massive. One floor was full of video equipment, ex-BBC, ex-ITV, Yorkshire Television, all this sort of business. Old video machines and recording equipment. And the second floor was just for audio stuff, mainly reel-to-reel tape stuff. And I met up with him at the end of his sort of period, really, where he actually said to me, "I wish I knew you a couple of years ago," because he had so much stuff that he had to, tried to get rid of and couldn't. So I was sort of there at the tail end of when it was all dying out after his supply was obviously drying up. But he still had a lot of stuff there. So yeah, it was like, wow, I think I got in touch with him through eBay or one of the sites. And we'd done a trip up there. I think I brought an A812 off him. That had done 250 hours.
Wow.
that's all it had done. Yeah, and it was, I couldn't believe the head. Everything looked like new on it. And it got the hour meter on the back, and it's got 250 hours on it, and it's like amazing.
How long ago was this?
2016, 15,
really?
something like that. Yeah.
Okay. So it was probably just on the cusp before, I detected last couple of years, 3 years, tape machine interest in the format has kind of gone vertical, and people obviously going after the desirable machines. But you went back. I thought the way you were talking with a warehouse full of this stuff, it was probably like 2005, because frankly you couldn't give some of this stuff away.
That's right.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
So
I might be telling you fibs, because it seems only that. Time just goes so quick, doesn't it? It probably was a little bit earlier than that, but it was around that sort of time, So
this guy would have been, as you said, Yorkshire TV and the BBC. He would have been collecting all the cast-offs that the broadcasters getting rid of around that kind of time.
That's right.
You got an A812 off him. I mean, you said there were other machines up there. What was up there? Give me an idea.
Right, okay. He'd got some. He'd got an A800 up there, 24-track A800 sitting there.
You should have taken that.
I know. I'll kick myself now for every time. The ones I've turned down over the years. Now I'm sort of thinking you are but like I was saying, when you think stuff's plentiful, you think you just cherry pick, don't you? You're not thinking ahead like 10 years, this is going to be, desirable in 10 years' time. We'll have the whole lot. I mean, he was having, this is what he told me, he was having 3 7.5-ton lorries a week delivering stuff to this place. How he was getting it through auctions, or whether he got a contract with someone to get rid of this stuff, I don't know. But he had... I've never seen so many A807s in my life. There was a lot of soldiers lined up in a row, out the trolleys, just standing up there, and there must have been, no word of lie, 25, 30, probably more, all lined up. And I went up and I picked some more A810 stuff up and some other bits off of him. And he said, "Are you not interested in the A807 stuff?" I went, "Nah, not really."
You see,
and what?
I like the A807. I know people give it a lot of bad press, but I think we all go crazy about the B77s and the PR99s, and they are nice machines. But if you want to step up that little bit with perhaps a little bit more of an outlay, and we've got to get used to that nowadays. We do have to pay for this stuff. But I like the A807. It's just a nice, simple but sophisticated machine. Yeah, that's right. It is, isn't it? It's a lot. It's a lot better than people make out it to be. And the different ones that there are. I used to pick those up. I mean, we've all picked them up. I mean, ex-BBC stuff you could pick up for. I've picked them up for £100. I wish I'd known you years ago.
There's a couple here. There's a playback only one I picked up. That was ex-BBC. I think it's still got the plate on the front where you have to ring the number if it goes wrong. So it was an amazing place, and I don't know. He had some Ampeg stuff up there and some 3M machines. I'm trying to think now. It's a bit misty, to be fair.
Sure,
but I went up 4 times. I mean, it's a fair old trot for me from Northampton to Manchester, and he actually rang me before he had to get the lease of the building was up, and he had got a load of lots of A80. Basically chassis that there weren't much left of them. There might have been a few motors attached and trolleys and that, and said did I want them, and I said I'd love to, but I couldn't get up there at the time to pick anything up. So what happened to that, I don't know. I'd imagine it went to the scrap. I mean, I did go up there once to get an A80 off him, and went all that way, and when we got there, the lift had packed up.
You couldn't get it down the stairs.
No, nobody was brave enough to come down these flights of stairs, and we went, "Don't worry about it, I'll come back." Or in the end, he delivered it for me.
Oh, that's nice.
It was great. It was nice.
Those old Victorian cotton mills, they did the stairs in them weren't a bit rickety. Yeah,
and there was no lighting either, so like pitch black. And some guys were doing some electric work in the street, and the electric was off, so the lift was kaput. It's funny as stories you remember, isn't it? But yeah, and of course, I mean, after that, I think most of it dried up. It just, there's odd bits and pieces around, but I think the days of having the bargains are well gone.
Well, definitely,
well gone.
I'd agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's two sides really. People have got to be realistic in what they're expecting to pay for these machines. But at the flip side, I'm also seeing people selling these machines who are being completely unrealistic in what they expect for them. And I do find, as you just said earlier in our conversation, you're steering clear of the domestic machines. It's with regret on my website. I've had to say I don't do domestic machines anymore.
No.
So I love them. But,
same here. Yeah.
But the point is, your top end, you're going to get perhaps even on a pristine one, £300, $300 for something like that. But that doesn't reflect on the price that you might have bought even a junker for £10, $10. And then it's someone's time and effort to strip it down, clean it in, even if it needs parts, and it's just not financially viable to do so. And it's even getting to the point now where people want pristine B77s and decent Akai's and probably Technics machines, and they're getting to the point where you realise you are not. If you think you're going to make money on this and sell it, if you're stepping up to your A810s, you're stepping up to your A80s, you can spend, and let's be brutally honest about this, you can spend like $2,000 or so to fix these machines, and you'll still get a profit out the end of it. But you're not even the A807 starting to borderline there that you think, So it's a shame that people got to realise, yes, the prices of these machines have gone up, but also if they think what they're worth at the end of it, you've got to be realistic in selling it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. There's too many out there for ridiculous money. Exactly. I did have a Technics RS 1700 at some point, which was a great machine, and a guy from Poland come and actually fetch that. That's how keen he was. He'd come all the way from Poland and picked it up. It's amazing. I mean, it's a great machine, but at the end of the day, it's a quarter track, isn't it? Don't get me wrong, but if you're looking for that little bit of extra, you're not going to get it out of a quarter track, are you?
No, that's true. I mean, they are fantastic machines to look at. I have to say, just as a piece of sort of mechanical architecture. They are lovely machines. They're
pretty, aren't they? Very. And some of the Akai's, the GX range, aren't they? So I had a 747, and I've still got a 646 somewhere. A 636, and to look at, absolutely lovely.
And Pioneers as well, and all the nice RTs, nice pretty modern machines. Which is something I know. I try and get the podcast away wholly from Studer Revox, but let's admit it, they are dominant or were dominant in the industry. But they never really went in for too much of the bling, whereas the Pioneer with all their blue LEDs and that nice aluminium and it just looked lovely. I mean, the Technics did as well. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean that they were more built for both really, performance and looks, weren't they, to catch that market. Whereas, your industrial looking A80, people look at that, and most people who see mine go, "Oh, what's that old piece of junk?"
His name was Willy Studer or Willy Studer.
Well,
so I think the Germanic bit of the Swiss came in there.
That's it.
Still great machines, but the Germanic bit came in. So what do you use your machines for now?
I just use them for it's just pleasure, really. I've got it rigged up to. I haven't managed to persuade the wife to let me have an A80 in the front room yet. So in my listening room, as I call it, I've got an A810 and an A812 in a tall rack, which I use to listen on. So the A80s are in the workshop, and I just record on them now and again from digital, from a high res file or something like that. Just for fun, really. I mean, it makes amazing recordings, as you know. That's about all they get used for, really, to be fair.
Do you collect tapes, pre-recorded tapes?
I don't, to be honest. I've got a few BBC stuff kicking around, some classical stuff that I picked up off at VH, which sounded quite good. But I don't collect as such, and I certainly don't buy any of these. I don't know whether you have ever heard any of these people that are doing the tape project tapes.
The alleged master tapes. Yeah.
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? The alleged master tapes.
There are some good and honourable record companies, recording companies out there doing straight to tape and tape masters. I mean, a good example would probably be STS and Chasing the Dragon. I mean, they are honourable and great quality. I mean, it's audiophile stuff. But I agree with you. When you're hearing sort of one-to-one master tapes from the Beatles, you think, But interestingly, your listenership or listening of these machines falls into exactly what I do. Is that I actually just like the pressing play and seeing all that
lovely,
all that clunk, all those relays, all that stuff coming off whatever machine, and seeing that tape move. The irony is, what it plays, sometimes I don't really care.
Same here. I'm exactly the same. As long as
but I know some people. Yeah, I know some people like these sort of analog sound. Well, fair enough, and that's it. It's so great about this hobby that the different sort of levels that people sort of approach it at. Really.
Yes. Yeah, and like you say, I'm like you. As long as it's a decent, I can listen to anything. If it's a decent recording in the first place, then I'll listen to it, whatever it is. I mean, there's so many so-called decent recordings out there that are terrible, and the stuff that's being churned out over the last, I don't know, really, you could probably say 20 years, couldn't you? Some of the recordings are absolutely dire, quality-wise. So anything that's been recorded well, I'll listen to it, really.
And if you're playing it back on an A80 or an A812...
if it's, even better.
Yeah. Well, that's fighting talk there. That's fighting talk. You're saying the A812 is better than the A80? Ooh.
No, not at all. Not at all. Oh, no, not at all. I would never. It's different, yeah. Yeah, some people don't like the sound of the A812. You know, it sounds a bit too clinical for them. I personally like it for playback. I don't record on it, but it's preferential taste, isn't it? At the end of the day, you know.
Do you ever get that fear though that you are playing it back or you're recording and you're like, I'm grinding my heads down, I'm wearing my heads down?
Yeah.
I'm not alone.
No, because I'm so the market for heads is so dried up at the moment. Well, it is. It's gone basically. You know, and if anybody has got any studio heads for sale, well, you could get 2 machines for the price they want for it. You know, 10 years ago. Yes, I do, especially on the A812. I keep thinking I need to take them record cards out. I need to take them HF driver cards out, and I need to take the record head off it. But I haven't done it. But that. Because you think, well, you're just wearing the record head out and you never use it. Why don't you just turn it into a playback machine?
I know exactly
it does bother me.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, the heads I've got are pristine, so it's like they'll probably outlive us anyway. You know, the amount of use they get.
That's a good way of looking at it.
You know, yeah.
One of the reasons why I wanted to get you onto the podcast is because of a post you put way back, a good few months, you've been posting on the various groups about a new A810 MPU card. Is it just for the A810?
That's right, and the A812.
And the A812.
And the A812.
And you've been developing this. I mean, it's now a product. It
is, right. Okay, it all started. Let me think. Let's have a think back. Right, it originally started with. I had an A812 that I picked up that was sold to me as spares or repairs, and basically it was in way too good a condition to scrap it. But it had, to cut a long story short, basically someone robbed the cards out of it, just the audio cage and the capsule motor control card and all that stuff. But the other stuff was all in there. So I scoured the internet for a MPU card for an A812 or an A820 or whatever, because it's basically the same. I couldn't find one anywhere. And if I did find one, I don't remember where now, some miles away somewhere, they wanted about 900 quid for it.
I think for the sort of perhaps the listeners here who don't know that the foibles of the Studer A810, 12, 20 MPU card, I would say of all the parts on those machines, it is the thing that's most likely to get trashed now because of battery leakage.
Because of the battery leakage, especially the A810.
These cards have got batteries on them. They've been minimum 30 years old now, and they're leaking, and you can see it's all leaked out. And in some cases, I've seen boards where it's just stripped the tracks off. It has destroyed it completely. It's toasted the board. As a consequence, they are quite rare. You get a machine that hasn't got a battery leakage damage on it. So sorry, I digress. But just to fill in as to why they are so hard to get.
So in the end, I thought, well, hold on a minute. we've done projects before. Let's have a look at this. And as my wife says, I think about stuff for way too long. Time I've made a decision, you forget it. But anyway, so I thought about it for a while, and then I thought, right, okay, we can do this. So we had to sacrifice the MPU card out of the good working A812, which, believe me, when you're sitting there desoldering it, and so to speak, and cleaning it all off.
It's better work.
Yeah, this better work. Yeah, so there you are with a blank card and all the tracks intact because you've been so careful. You know, you're cutting the IC sockets off with a pair of side cutters and then pulling each pin out one by one. It's like, yeah, are you sharp? You know, are you bright?
Yeah. You're a brave man. Yeah.
So then that's what we did, and then scanned that into the computer and built the PCB up from that, and then sent that off and got that made. And when they come back, they obviously put it together, and hey presto, there you go. Well, not quite as easy as that, but sourcing the components. So while we thought we were doing the A812, I thought, hold on a minute, A810s, they're the same. They're even worse than the others because you got the rechargeable batteries on the A810. So I had a spare one anyway, kicking about. So we did the same with that. Got some of those made up, and that's how it come about, really.
I mean, some of the components on those boards are still readily available. Obviously, IC sockets and discrete components. Yeah. But you are talking about EPROMs on there that need burning, that need their brain installed into them.
That's right.
How did you go about sourcing and doing that?
Right. Okay. I think one of the hardest components to source on there was a good supply of genuine. We've got to make this clear now. Genuine components. There's a lot of hooky stuff out there. So I think one of the hardest was getting the processor. The
MPU.
MPU was one of the hardest, but I did source them in the end. Somebody got 130 of them or something, genuine Motorola ones. Had to be genuine. So we was okay with that. So I picked them up. And now the EPROMs, 2764s, I think, if I remember right now. Yeah, they were a little bit more difficult, but there was a guy who I got in touch with for some EPROMs for the A812s, which I think there were 128s in them, and he had some new old stock of those, and they are new, and it's like I couldn't believe it. He had about 80 of them, so we managed to get them. So basically, scouring the country for stuff, and then you've got to burn them. So yeah, I've got an old-fashioned EPROM burner that we use. So as long as you've got the checksums for the software, which is readily available on the internet, I'll tell you the checksums are different software versions, and as long as you've got a good set to copy, get them up onto the computer, and then just burn them off one by one, basically. And away you go.
So you scoured the world by the sound of it. So you've got sort of 130 of this and 80 of that. So
yeah, that's it.
Is it a finite resource that you've got, or do you think, or will you continue to search? It strikes me then if you've got 80 of one, 130 other, you've got 80, say, full cards you can create. But are you still looking for other devices?
Yes. I mean, if RAM chips are another one, trying to get to static RAM chips is quite difficult to find. Genuine ones, again, I emphasise genuine. I did get some that they said were genuine, and it's like they don't look like it, and of course they play up. So they might work okay for a couple of days, and you'll come in, switch the machine on, and it will give you EE01, and you'll think, oh great, here we go, lost all its memory. So yeah, I've learned to tell now just by looking at it straight away. I think, well, that's genuine or that's not genuine. You get a feel for it. So I have got quite a few of them, but I'm actively looking all the time to see if there's anything else. I mean, I suppose a real last resort, I wouldn't want to really do it, but you could use recycled EPROMs. There's a lot of people that will sell socket pulls, and they reckon they're in good nick. You can always test them, and as long as they've been handled all right. But I wouldn't really want to do that, to be fair. I think, I test them for 4 or 5 hours in a machine over a period of a week, maybe, on and off. And straight away, if it's going to be okay, once it's in, you turn it on. It works first time, and it's going to be okay. 9 times out of 10. You'll never have one that doesn't. If it's not going to work, it's not going to work first time. So, yeah, all good stuff, as they say.
So you've now got a viable product for, you mentioned A812 and A810. you've got that, and A820s as well.
Well, the A820 MPU is the same as the A812.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same transport, isn't it? Same electronics.
Same electronics.
Transport as the A810. Bit of a hybrid.
So
the 12.
they are. Yeah. It's half and half, isn't it? The A812. It's half A810, half A820.
Yeah.
And A816, I think, as well. But the MPU cards for the 12 are the same for the audio MPU in an A820 and the main MPU, just different software, different jumper settings. But I've never had the chance, obviously, to try one because I haven't got an A820.
So you've got these cards now, and they're available to buy now that they're shipping.
They are, yeah. I mean, I've got about 18 in stock now, ready to go, and I've probably sold about the same amount already as well, I would think. And what's happened now because they're starting to go a bit, we've actually put the price has come down, a bit more realistic.
Well, I was about to ask that. How much are they?
Yeah, they're $295 now. Mm-hmm. So originally they were a bit more than that, and at the end of the day, I mean, I think $295.
I think that's excellent.
If it's going to bring your A810 back to life,
exactly.
It's nothing, is it?
Well, when you can, I've paid £400 for a spooling motor control board on an A810 before because I had to get it. I think
you have to get it.
I think it's a fantastic price. So that really is great. And you're selling these internationally, are you? It's 295, obviously UK pounds, but
UK pounds, yeah,
yes.
Yeah. They go all over the place. To be fair, ones I've sold already. There's been quite a few in the UK, China, America.
You must have sold some back to Switzerland. Please say that.
Do you know I haven't? Or have I? Have I? We've gone Hong Kong. We've gone to Surrey, China, London, Singapore.
Oh, that's good. How are people finding out about it? I mean, website?
I haven't got a website. No, just on the studio one, and they're on eBay as well.
People, if you're listening to this podcast, please get in touch with me. You can find my details, realresilience.co.uk. You can find me on Facebook. I like talking to Steve here about items that people are creating for tape machines. It doesn't matter. We've spoken about Studio and Revox quite a lot, but it doesn't matter if you're making them for any other manufacturer, or even if it's just accessories that are across the board, such as spool. There's a guy in America, and I've tried to drop him a line to say, you're making these beautiful spools with all lovely aluminium etching and that kind of thing. Let's get in touch and let's talk. So if you're making these parts for the machines that we love, please drop me a line and we can talk like Steve, and I'll be happily plug your products. So you're making this card. Any other ideas for future? Because obviously you put a lot of hours into this MPU board. Any other things such as a spooling motor control board, capstan boards?
No, I mean the spooling motor control board is quite a troublesome bit of kit, but there's no plans at this present moment in time to look at that. It's just getting the components. Some of the components on some of the stuff is difficult, and I've found on some of the cards that they're quite fussy about what replace of something. Not just a matter of thinking, yes, this is an equivalent according to the data sheet. It should do, because 9 times out of 10 it doesn't work, or it doesn't work as it was intended to, without changing dozens of other components. So if you're going to do something, make sure you can get everything and you can make it work as it should. I mean, I was thinking about this the other day. I mean, the next lot, we might even get rid of the charging circuit altogether on the A810 card and just put a lithium in. And then you haven't got no trouble with the battery leaking in 10 years' time or anything like that. But I'd like to think is that if someone's going to go to the bother putting a new card in, then they'll be keeping their eye on that. I would say, check it every 12 months. If you're not using the machine, like everything, if it sits, they hate being sat there doing nothing, don't they? If you're going to put one in.
This is actually an issue I have with, especially with professional users, studios, that, the reason why tape is lifted off is off the back of the vinyl revival. And I'm getting studios going, we want to use their tape machine again. And I'm saying, but what you've got there is like a vintage car. It's like an Aston Martin or a beautiful Ferrari. And you've left it in a garage for 20 years with a sheet over the top of it. You now want to just get it out on a sunny Sunday or whatever and take it for a spin and expecting it to work perfectly. And it doesn't. These machines, they're electromechanical devices, and the oil dries out on them, the grease goes solid, the batteries go flat on the later machines. You've got to run these machines. You've got to take them out.
Yeah. I mean, I done some at the weekend. I just run a couple just for the fact they haven't been run for a while. So, my wife thinks I'm mad. She says, well, what you got them running for? I said, they're just running because they need to be run,
On the first podcast I did, my guest was Stuart Blacklock. If you've seen Stuart's collection.
Yeah. Oh, my word, yeah.
And he admits himself, he'll fix a machine and it's running perfectly, but by the time he can cycle, he's got about, I don't know, Stuart, I'm sure you can correct me on this, 400 or so machines. The time he could cycle all that lot, sort of like back to square one. Got to work on it all over again.
Yeah. Well, not a bad hobby, is it? If you can go just go around in a circle.
Or find space for 400 machines.
Well, that's it. Yeah. I don't know. He's got the space. Wow. Yeah.
Oh, he has. I think he has.
Yeah.
But you got to just run them because they hate being left. Yeah.
Worst thing you can do. Thing you can do with it. Yeah. So that's where we're at with them. So they are up and running, and if anybody wants them, then they can look on eBay or they can drop me a email or through the studio users group or something like that.
One quick question. Actually, you perked up. You said we. Is it just you behind this? Or
we is me.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
we is me.
Oh, I
see. I don't know why I say we, to be honest. No, it is only me. So I do everything. Yeah, well, I put them together when we test them and we do this and we do that. Just one man in his workshop doing what he likes doing, basically.
Can't go wrong with that. One man.
No, not at all.
One man.
That's right. Passion. Yeah, even at this difficult time now. I mean, I'll spend a lot of time up here, which is good, but I did say that to my wife. I said, I don't really want to get to a stage where I'm going up the workshop because I've got nothing else to do, because it's like I come up here because I want to come up here. I don't come up here because I've got to. So if I ever get sort of feeling like I don't want to go up, then it'll be pretty sad, really. But let's hope everything turns out nice and we can get back to normal.
It will be.
Say.
It will be excellent.
Yeah.
Well, let's dwell on the nice things of just you
That's
putting
right.
tape on that machine, you're lacing it up, and you press play, and it all goes clunk, and then you see that 15 ips. Oh,
yeah.
We're in
Brilliant.
heaven. We're in heaven.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more.
Steve, thank you very much. It's been fantastic to talk to you. This card's on eBay. You can get them on eBay or you find them on the Studio Users Group. So there's no actual website or whatever. That's
there
fair
isn't.
enough.
No, unfortunately, no.
But if that's the way you're selling them, that's the way you're selling them. And I urge you, if you've got an A810 or an A812, go to Steve, and if you need a replacement MPU card, because it certainly sounds, I take my hat off to you, to the effort you've gone to producing effectively a brand new retro, call it what you will, card for these machines. It's great. You've done it. And had the guts to take apart a working MPU card as well.
Well, yeah. What's the worst thing can happen? It ends up in the bin, doesn't it?
A bit expensive.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But no, it's been great talking to you, Ian. Really nice.
Find Real Resilience on the web at realresilience.co.uk and on our Facebook page, Real Resilience.
As I said, since this interview was recorded, Steve has added a website to sell the MPU board through. It can be found at www.studa-mpu-boards.co.uk. That URL again, www.studa-mpu-boards.co.uk. And I can vouch for the quality of the boards. Look on the Real Resilience Facebook page where I posted an image of one. That's it for this episode of the Press Play podcast. I mentioned the Facebook page, but don't forget the website either, where you can read a transcript of my interview with Steve on there. The address is www.realresilience.co.uk. On the next podcast, we'll be in conversation with John Farrer from US-based Righteous Reels, discussing the range of beautiful 5, 7 and 10.5 inch reels he makes that just look great on any machine. So until we talk again, be it open reel, perhaps controlled by one of Steve's MPU boards, or a cassette deck, pre-recorded or a dub tape, the reason is clear why we love tape and tape recorders. So let's keep it real.